and welcome to another episode of Casting Views, a podcast where we pick a subject that interests us, annoys us, as you'll find out in this episode, or is otherwise just a little bit interesting, and well, we cast some views on it. I'm here with
Dan, that's me. Hi.
that is you, and this episode is all going to be about stuff that grinds our gears, gets on our nerves, and just our general pet peeves, really.
Pet peeves. I like that. Very British. Pet peeves.
It is very, very, very British pet peeves.
Do you know what my pet peeve is? I'm going to start. My number one. I've actually added one, right? I had a list here, but I'm adding one. Is having technicals when you're getting ready. So we kind of joked about it in the last episode. We'll say, yeah, it's all behind us now. But it's 20 to 8. Do you want to say what time we were due to start this?
Yeah, it was actually due at 7:30. It was.
So just
It's
20
actually
minutes.
10 to 8. It is.
I saw it. Yeah, I can't even read the time. It's 10 to 8. Yeah, so
I know you
20.
got away with it then.
20 minutes, 20 minutes delayed. So anyway, people having technicals with their audio, that's my number one pet peeve.
But yeah, this week's episode's all got to be about our pet peeves with kind of reference to everything in everyday life, I guess, because you can kind of break them down into subsections, I think.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, though, before we do get started, because knowing you, I know how potentially angry this episode's going to get, right? And having said that, when we suggested this, because we only sort of thought about this yesterday, didn't we? And I thought, well, I'm only going to have like one or two. I've got a list of 16 at the moment. So
It's going to break our longest episode record, this is.
yeah, before we do, let's get a promo for some friends out now before they get mixed up with all our anger and elevated blood pressure later. So we mentioned last week that we're going to feature a number, probably throughout January and Feb, a number of promos from some friends of ours. And this week we're going to hear from Decaying with the Boys. So it's Matt and Adam, and they've got an absolutely fantastic podcast. They talk about literally anything and whatever they fancy, really. And I was listening to their latest one. I listened to it a couple of times actually, and it's kind of a review. Part of it is a review of the year, but they go from beer to boxing, MMA with, I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but with a great rant about Ronda Rousey. But you have to listen to it to find out. Through to favorite wrestlers, breweries. And I kid you not, they discuss a story in India about a war between dogs and monkeys. I'm leaving it there. I'm leaving it there. I mean, it's just an amazing story. So yeah, Decaying with the Boys. Give them a look on Twitter and give their podcast a follow, and we'll hear from them now.
Welcome back to the Judgeatorium. It's Decaying with the Boys.
That's right, it's Matt, it's Adam, two comedic co-hosts that talk about what they love.
Beers, combat sports, pop culture, horror movies, and whatever else we want.
So subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to catch new episodes dropping every Sunday morning.
So, this week's episode.
Yeah,
Pet
let's get into
peeves.
it. What grinds our gears?
Right. Well, now there was inspiration for this. Obviously, it's just been the holiday period, and you know, I think you're exposed to probably more pet peeves than you would be at any other time of year. However, I'm going to kind of break them down into categories because I think there's a few main categories where everybody's got things that really wind them up, grind their gears, piss them off, basically. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
going to
tried
start.
to. So I was gonna say I tried to group them, and where I can, I have. But like I said, I just kept adding and adding. And yeah, let's see how we get on.
Well, I'm going to start with a category, and that's driving. Driving pet
Okay.
peeves.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
So it's when you're on the road, you know, people have habits that really, really wind them up. And to be honest, the entire inspiration for this episode came about really,
Someone annoyed you. Someone's pissed you off, haven't they?
yeah, to and from, you know, family members over like the Christmas period and that sort of thing. And one of them, and I don't know if our friends in America will appreciate this as much because we've got lots of roundabouts and that sort of thing, and roads are narrower. So there's lots more stopping and start driving. And that's when, do you know when you let someone go through when it's not their right of way? And they
Yeah.
don't wave,
Yeah.
or they don't do the thing where they flash their lights because it's like a little bit of a spit, isn't it?
Well, it's just even a tiny raise of the hand. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
anything, or a nod. It could be anything, you know.
Yeah, you know, it could just be a raise of like 3 fingers or something off the wheel. You don't even
yeah.
have to take your whole hand off the wheel. But that's one thing because it's like the disrespect. I've turned around, I've stopped. I'm taking 2 extra minutes to get to my destination to let you go, and you've not even acknowledged me. I've not even been there.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because one of the things, actually, probably before we start, I looked up, and when we were calling it pet peeves, right? The definition of a pet peeve is a minor annoyance, and I think that's key. It's a minor annoyance that an individual finds particularly irritating to them, or to a greater degree would be expected, greater than would be expected based on experience of others. And I think what you said there, number one, encapsulates that perfectly, because what you've done is you think, and I'm not necessarily talking about you because it's happened to me, is you think you've done the biggest thing in the world. You've been the biggest hero in the world to let someone through, right? And it's like the least they could do is acknowledge that act of sacrifice to your day of taking, like you said, an extra 5 seconds or so. Otherwise, if you hadn't let them out, they're probably going to be stuck there for 20 hours in your head. But no, you've let them out, and they just slap you in the face.
Yeah, I just think to myself, you've literally got to your destination a day early because I've let you go when I shouldn't have let you go, and the least you could have done is given me just a couple of fingers up from your steering wheel in acknowledgement. But you've looked straight by me, like no eye contact or anything.
Have you ever hooted them or anything to say?
No, do you know what it is as well, right? That I'm going to come on to another one that you've just mentioned,
Okay.
because the use of horns when you're on the road, right, I think is only reserved for specific circumstances.
Actually, and digression here. Do you say hooted, used the horn, or bibbed?
I bibbed.
Oh, you bibbed, yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
anyone listening, yeah, what do you say? Because I bibbed. It's not even a word, is it? I bibbed someone.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just because that's the noise it makes, is it? Bib.
Bib, bib.
But yeah, that brings me on to another one, which is driving, which is liberal use of your horn.
Okay.
And that's, when like you've just got circumstances where, for instance, you're at a red light, for instance, and the light's just turned green, and immediately in 0.012 seconds, someone behind you has pressed the horn. It makes me want to keep my foot on the brake. I'm like, tell you what, I'm going to wait for it to change again.
Yeah, like I said, I know what you mean. You've literally just gone green, and it's the time it takes you, I don't know, to put it into gear. And they're so impatient, and often that actually delays me because I'm like, "Whoa, what's happened? Is someone like, is there an emergency vehicle coming?" And they're like, "Do I need to stop? Is there something happening?" So that's the act of that actually delays me more anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think some people are way, way too liberal with it, because I mean, I've only used my horn in instances where like somebody's proper cut me off, or like, on a roundabout where they haven't given way to you.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I said, our American friends won't have that problem because it's intersections. So, I'd probably do really well in America.
Yeah, I only use the horn. I only bib people in two instances. One is extreme anger.
Yeah.
Because I find it's actually more of a stress relief, especially if the horn, like on my car, is in the middle of the steering wheel. You could just thump it with the fist,
Yeah, there's nothing worse than being in one of those cars, where like the horn's a button, you can't find it, and then by the time you get there, it's
Oh,
too late. You're like, shit, my moment's gone.
that happened to me once. It was so annoying. That actually angered me more because I was looking to find where the bloody button was, and then the moment had gone.
It is strange, though, the amount of satisfaction you get from using your horn in the moment where you're really angry, because it's like, I got them.
It depends on the horn as well. I can't remember. There was one car I was using. It had a really embarrassing one, so I kind of tried not to. It was a really feeble one, so it was like, yeah, I won't be using that.
Oh, I'll never forget. Sorry, a little bit of a tangent, but it was my grandfather's and your dad's, obviously.
Yeah.
He had a big Renault Espace at one point, and it was a monster of a car, but it had a horn that was honestly a squeak.
Maybe it was that. Maybe I drove that once. I don't know. Yeah, the other time I use a horn is actually if I'm in danger of someone like hitting me or they don't see me. If that's the only other time to warn someone that they're about to reverse into me.
Yeah, exactly. Where do you know what? A horn is reserved for really stupid, moronic driving, I think.
Yeah, not what the highway code dictates, I think.
Do you know what it is as well? For me, like, it's a bit of an event. Like, I'll come home, like, I had to bib someone today.
Yeah. When did that become a thing? Yeah. Did you have a good date? No, I had to use my horn. Oh, do you want a cup of tea?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? People must be like, "Whoa, fucking hell, you must have been caught close." That was it,
Sit down and tell me all about it. Here's a cuppa. Yeah. Oh my word.
Yeah, the using the horn too liberally, you brought me onto that one. A couple of other driving ones, and this is kind of in relation to seeing police cars and that sort of thing. So let's say you're on a motorway and all of a sudden you see a police car. It's everybody's decision to drive 5 to 10 miles an hour less than the speed limit.
Yeah. If I was the police, I'd be pulling them over.
Yeah, I would as well, because I'd be like, they've definitely got something to hide.
Suspicious, yeah.
When you're on a motorway and all of a sudden you're like, why is everyone driving so slowly? And then you see that like fluorescent blue and yellow of a police car. You're like, right, okay. But guys, we can drive the speed limit still. It's a motorway. We don't have to do 60.
But it's funny though, isn't it? It can feel quite like you're doing something amazing when you actually overtake a police car.
Yeah, because it feels...
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Paul Walker from the Fast and Furious series. And then all the other drivers looking at you, being like, "Oh my god, look at that bloke just cruising past the police officer."
The funny thing is, when you get those vehicles that have got like the fluorescent chevrons on the back of the car, but they're not police. They're like building, you get that kind of design, but people think they're police, and you can see everyone as they're getting up to them, the brake lights go,
Yeah,
and
you
then
see flash, flash, flash.
yeah, and then they obviously realise it's not, and then you see them just take off again.
It's like a highway. It's a highway maintenance plate. You're like, yeah, back to 19.
Yeah, screw you, highway bloke.
But yeah, that one as well. And then this one is especially at night time, and it's people that don't realise they've got their pissing high beams on. So you're coming over the like ridge of like a country road or something like that. You come over the peak, and then all of a sudden you're blinded by the force of 6,000 suns, as the person opposite you doesn't realise that they've got their high beams on.
Yeah, I don't know if this is specific to the UK, but yeah, it's predominantly when you're going down the country lanes, isn't it, with no lighting, so you'll put your full beams on, right? But you'll see the beams coming the other way, and you'll turn yours off, won't you?
Yeah.
I'm like, I see it, so I turn the light off, right? Sorry, not off, but you put them back onto the regular light, and you'll see the car coming, and you haven't seen the change in their light straight. They keep coming, you don't see it. So when they come at you, I then start flashing. It's like, no, you will turn yours down. You will turn yours down.
It's very passive aggressive, that as well, because all of a sudden, again, it's a bit like the horn situation. All of a sudden you just start passive aggressively flashing your lights at them.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm getting quite angry actually already.
The next one's still related to cars, but a little bit more so to parking.
Okay.
Now, have you
Oh,
ever
here we
been in
go.
a car park where, it's been a Saturday and you've gone to a town and it's a struggle to get a space?
Yeah.
Everybody's had that situation. Obviously, spaces in the UK, from what I've experienced in my short 26 years, are actually really quite small, to be
They are.
honest.
Yeah.
It's only if you get to like a Costco or something where they decide to make the spaces big enough to park like a tank in.
Well, spaces have stayed the same, but the cars have got bigger, haven't they?
Yeah, that's the thing, because you'll have a space that was meant for like a 70s Mini Cooper and there'll be like a Range Rover Sport in it, and
Yeah.
you'll think, yeah, okay, right. And that's people that, park across lines.
Yeah. 2 spaces. Yeah.
Yeah, or park diagonally in a line. So it's not actually easy enough to get in, because all of a sudden you've got to turn into a circus level gymnast contortionist to
Yeah.
get out your car.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me, because I turn around and I'm just like, I wish a parking when the only time you need a parking warden, they're never about.
And I know why they do it. They do it because they don't want anyone to park next to their beauty, right? Their little baby. But what it is it's almost making me want to drive into the car because I can't get into the space. It's like, no, I will shove you out the way. It is so frustrating.
Because you've seen those instances online where, people have legitimately blocked other drivers in because they've parked like tosspots, basically.
Yeah.
And I actually think in my local area there's a Facebook group dedicated, and I think it's called Parking Like a Twat In, won't say
Yeah.
where we
Yeah.
live. And it's literally people getting exposed for parking like
Actually,
idiots.
parking is actually quite stressful anyway, because the amount of times a lot of the car parks here, especially in the smaller towns, are one way, aren't they?
Yeah.
So you'll go in, right? And the thing is, if you haven't realised there's a queue, you'll get stuck in the middle of it when you turn around a corner and you're stuck in the cars. But then you're looking at the entrance and people are turning the wrong way as they're coming into the car park. So they've seen the space. And so they'll just turn the wrong way to go into it. That really winds me up.
Yeah, and then you're sat there, you're like, no, the arrows, I've got right
Yeah,
of way here.
yeah.
Or have you ever seen it where somebody's like told that like the passenger of the car
Wait.
to get out
Yeah.
and then stand in a space? And hang on a minute, in fucking reserve list
I've
here.
seen actually it's funny you say that, because I've seen a couple on TikTok this week. I thought that was so like 10 years ago. Maybe it says more about me, but I couldn't be that person that stands in that space either.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you know how angry people are getting.
I
Unless
feel like
no, I was going to say, unless you're just going round the car park, you don't want anyone to do what I've said and turn the wrong way. But if you're this video I was watching, this woman, she was there for 5 minutes and the car was nowhere to be seen. And it's like, why would you do that to her?
yeah, she's like, when the car turning up, estimated time of delivery is 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, your driver will be here in 5 minutes.
But yeah, there's a lot of driving ones. Have you got any more that are driving related?
You've mentioned a couple anyway, but for me, similar to the ones where you said where you let people out, it's people that don't indicate for me.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I'm not even going to say because they can almost cause an accident by going into you because you pull out because you think they're turning. It's more you coming up to the junction and so you stop, but they're turning, so they weren't going to come across you anyway. So you've had to stop, and it's that. Do you know what I mean? Like at a roundabout, say you're coming up to a roundabout and there's a car coming from the right. They've not got their indicator on, so I stop because I think they're going to either go straight on or turn around, but they don't. They turn left, and it's like, you've made me fucking stop. And it's like, again, this is why it's a perfect pet peeve, because all they've done is literally stop me for maybe 5 seconds, but it's just the annoyance.
But you know what? Along that same vein as well, right? I live on the end of a very busy road, as you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, getting out of
Oh
my
God,
road at peak
yeah,
times is
yeah,
really, really busy because you've got traffic
yeah,
coming both ways. So it's only
yeah,
single lane, single lane. But I always hate, do you know, where you've got two people coming from opposite directions that want to turn into the road that you're in,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they don't let you go first.
Yes, yes.
Because it's like, hang on a minute, this is my only chance to get out, you selfish bastards. You should be letting me out first and then going. And then you get somebody pull up in like some huge tank looking thing, turning in front of you. And I'm like, hang on a minute, you're not letting me go.
Or not even if they're going to turn in. If they've got like about 5, 6, 7 cars behind them, and you've just stopped there because obviously you have to stop at the junction, why can't they let you out if you're turning to go into the same way as them? Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's that thing about people just I'm in my car, I need to get that, I can't let anyone in front of me. It's taking away time, but it's those little annoying things like that. Because I know what you mean. That where you live, you could be there 5 minutes if people don't let. Or you've got to force yourself out, haven't you?
Yeah, this is what I mean. I've sat there at the end of my junction, but I'm actually not, I'm not getting to work today. I
Yeah.
was like, it's not happening.
But yeah, people who don't indicate, and like I said, it's just because it's annoying, because you're slowing me down. There's that, and this one, it's a weird one because so I try to, where I can, obviously. Well, actually, I should say I try to all the time stick to the speed limit. So when you're going through a village or a town and you're doing, so over here it's 30 miles an hour predominantly in towns, and you've got a car right on your bumper, right?
Yeah.
And then you get into the national speed limit, which is 60 or 70, depending on the road, and you've left them behind. So basically, they're trying to speed through towns, but then they're going slow on main roads. Those
Yeah.
people wind me up because you've been on my bumper. You've stressed me out because you've literally been on my bumper, but you're then only doing like 40 in a 60 or a 70. That annoys me.
Yeah, because you expect the person to come and overtake you, and then all of a sudden, all they do is sit behind you. You put your foot down, you've moved off and left them as a speck in the distance. You're like, well, hang on a minute.
Yeah, because like I'm like the same, if I'm when I'm coming round a roundabout or something, if somebody cuts out in front of me, I haven't got a problem if they've then sped off. I mean, they shouldn't be speeding, but if you're doing that and you've left me in your dust, then fair enough. But if you've done that just for me then to sit on your tail, that's annoyed me. That's going to annoy me. Do you know what I mean? If you're gonna, to use an analogy from you, if you're gonna be all fast and furious when you're pulling away from a junction, you better do that when you're actually on the road rather than just then start trundling along and causing delay to me. Oh man. But I think that's it for cars. I think there could be loads of things ultimately. People that just hog that right hand lane when there's no traffic around them.
Oh yeah. So right, okay. So this is how I look at it. Right. Obviously, we've got national speed limits, and they're all 70. In reality, if you're in the left lane, which in the UK is the slow lane, you should be doing 70 miles an hour, unless you're a car that can't do 70 miles an hour. So some like lorries and that sort of thing are limited to like 65 or
Yeah,
68 or
yeah,
something, aren't they? But then you get people that will sit in the right hand lane and they will just do 70. And I'm like,
yeah,
but move over because people want to go past you. We
yeah,
have to
yeah,
go past you.
yeah, yeah.
And then they'll sit there and it'll be ages and ages. There'll be a clear gap. No, no, no. And that also leads me on to, do you know when lorry drivers want to have a race?
Oh man, that happens
Like,
so often.
oh my God, you're on a motorway, you're cruising along, and then all of a sudden you see a gigantic, like 18-ton lorry pull out, and you're like, that's it, I'm going to be stuck
And
behind
it's
him for
not
the
even
next
they want
15
to
miles.
race. They tend to always want to overtake on a hill or or an incline. It's like, fair enough. Go for it. Go for it if you want to do it, but maybe do it on a downhill. Like, don't do it as you're going uphill because you're causing that back up. And then they realise. So one or two things happens. Either the lorry they're overtaking has to slow down because he knows, or he or she knows what's going on, or the person knows that they can't do it, so then have to slot back behind that truck, which is even more annoying.
It's like the ultimate losing of face, isn't it? If you're a lorry
Yeah,
driver and you have to pull behind the lorry that you tried to overtake.
Driving is just so, it can be so emotional, can't it? I mean, the thing for me is those people then that sit in that middle lane or right hand lane, they're doing 60, but there's not much traffic around them. So I've been, so a couple of medical appointments, I've got to go down to Gatwick. So it's like a 2 hour trip one way. And so you're doing the M25, etc. And there are certain bits, yeah, sometimes it can feel frustrating when you're just going all the way to the right hand, all the way to the left. But then there are cars that are just sitting in the middle, and cars are going past them on both sides, which is just an accident waiting to happen. But yeah, stay in your right lane.
Yeah, yeah. If you're being overtaken on a motorway by somebody in the slow lane, give up your license. Honestly, honestly. The other ones that I've got now are kind of moving on to general day-to-day life. And the one that I've got that was present, I think is only really if you go somewhere big, like you go to a London, that sort of thing. Because I went to London. It's where I got COVID from, again, unfortunately. Um, and obviously, London's very busy. And especially at Christmas time, London's very, very busy. So I've got two that wind me up. That's people that walk too slow.
I kind of, I've got a slightly different one, but yeah, I get you.
But do you know when you're like walking down the road and there's lots of shops and that sort of thing? I understand you want to have a browse, but don't walk a family wide. Like, there's no reason for you to be six in a line walking down the street because now I've got to step into the road to overtake you because I want to get by you.
That annoys me. The people that are walking across the whole width of the pavement, but slowly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, window shop, that's fine, but do it single file, please.
Yeah. The funny thing, actually, again, there's going to be a lot of digressions here. The funny thing about London, I always called it like the London waddle. It's like often as soon as you get off the train or you come off the escalators, people go into that sort of kind of not quite a jog, but not quite a walk. It's that fast walk. It's just that mentality takes over, and that's what you need. You need that
Yeah, yeah.
mentality.
Urgency, sense of urgency. Like, people get off the tube and all of a sudden it's like, where are we going? You have to move with the
Yeah.
crowd.
No, see, to me, I almost had someone similar, and I'm sure I've done it, and that's the thing, and that's why I think it's a perfect pet peeve because I probably peeve people off doing it, myself. But it's the ones that, yeah, they're walking slowly in front of you, but then they just stop dead right in front of you. Yeah, and it's like I've almost like breathing down their neck. You've stopped and you've made me almost bump into you, and it's like I always seem to attract the people that don't know where they want to go and just stop, just like that, no warning, no stepping to the side, just stop dead right in front of me.
Yeah, because that's the thing. You wouldn't do it in a car. Why would you do it on foot?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know which junction to take at the M25. You're like, I tell you what, I stop here and then I'll decide where I need to go.
Because it's like, you're on a pavement. You can only be going one way unless you've forgotten something or dropped something. But even so, just kind of like take a slight sidestep or something, but not right in the middle of well, don't make me bump into you. It annoys me.
The next one again was very prevalent when I was in London, only because it was Christmas time and there was lots of people about. And obviously, London is actually quite a pretty place at Christmas, to be fair. There's lots of flashy lights and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
However, if you're stood in a crowd of 3,000 people or you're on London Bridge at really peak time, don't stop and like block the whole road to try and get a photo. Do you know where like all of a sudden you cause a
Yeah.
backup
Yeah.
because like people are just like, wait, is it more rude for me to interrupt them and walk through the picture? Is it more rude for them to be holding everyone up to take the picture?
Yeah, but I think you take you're risking that here because like those London cabbies as well, they won't stop.
Yeah, yeah, this is true. But yeah, they were more general day-to-day ones, I think. And then barring that, I've got you know what, I might get in trouble for this because some people in the family eat really loudly. They're very loud eaters.
Yeah, no, I've got that.
Do you know, like, there's nothing worse than hearing someone proper munch down on something. Like, it's worse when you're on like public transport, you're on like a train, and
Especially
all of a
when it's
sudden,
quiet. Especially
yeah,
when it's
yeah,
quiet.
you can
Yeah.
like hear every crumb because as well on public transport, I don't know what it is. No one brings anything quiet. They always bring an apple or crisps or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that, and you hear every crackle of every bite, don't you?
Before you go, I just want to go back to supermarkets, right? So it's kind of I've classed this under going out and general people day to day. I tend not to do much in the way of full shops at supermarket. Often, if I'm going, it's just because we've forgotten something or run out of something, so I'm just going and picking up this odd item here or there. But I generally find, and it's normally only in supermarkets, if I've got a number of items to pick up, there's always one person, usually with a fully laden trolley, who's always going to the same bit of each shelf that I'm going to, and always gets there before me. And it's like I'm trying to reach up, but they've moved their trolley, or they've positioned themselves because they have to go. And then I'm like waiting. I don't want to reach across them, especially now in the COVID days. But I'm like starting to get really annoyed. So I'm like, okay, I'll move down a couple of bits down because there's something else. But no, they've moved their trolley and they're trying to get there before me. And it's like, who are these people and how do they know where I want to go and what items I want to get? It just really winds me out. It just really winds me out. We're probably coming across as really unreasonable, you know that.
Yeah, yeah.
And one other thing, I don't know if you got it, and this is probably quite a British thing, but is queue jumping.
Oh, yeah, 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 100%,
And the people who
100%.
think they're being clever, you know, it's like, oh, hi, I haven't seen you for ages. Yeah, what are you doing here? Oh, yeah, we're going to say, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they think they could just then slot themselves in. But they know we see them and we give them the disapproving look because we won't do anything else, right? So we'll mumble under our breath and look at them.
Yeah, that's the thing as well, and that's a very, very British thing to not call someone out for that. You're just like, I'm so angry. That's again something you go home and tell someone about.
Yeah, my eyebrow will let you know how dissatisfied I am with your queue jumping.
Yeah, but also I can't be bothered to have an argument with someone in the middle of the street or in the middle of Sainsbury's.
Yeah, yeah. But going back to what you were saying about people eating on train, I've got a couple of to do with cinema.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, same, yeah.
And what it is for me is I've put overly loud eaters, but I don't mean chewing because you don't hear that. But it's the people that make more noise with like a bag of popcorn than a rock concert. And I don't know how people seem to do that. I mean, is there a specific bit of popcorn at the bottom of the bag that they want? I don't know. It's like I said, I think I'd probably pay a couple of quid extra to go to a screen where you can't have any food or anything. But I'm okay with people having it, but it's just when they do, it's like, yeah, the other day, it felt like somebody literally was digging. I don't know how big this bag of popcorn was, but it was like, come on, seriously.
But do you know what it is? It's like you sit down for your film and it's dead silent, everyone goes quiet and that sort of thing, and then all of a sudden, for the first 20 minutes, all you hear is this.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's for
That's it,
for
isn't
those
it?
with earphones. Sorry for your eardrums there, but if it's during the trailers, it's one thing, but it's just. Oh, and that's the other thing actually. Am I done with the food? Yeah, I think I'm done with the food. It's the trailers, right? You sit down. You know now you've got to get there sort of 20 minutes after the starting time if you just want to see the film. But you sit down and they show some adverts, right? Then we've got trailers, and I think great because I love, I love seeing trailers. So the trailers stop, and you think, right, the film's going to start now. Now they show more adverts. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Show all the adverts at the start. Why have you then? You've given me false hope because once the trailer starts, you go into the film. No, they showed more adverts.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I've been in cinemas and now what they do is they dim the lights and you think, oh my god, that's it, it's starting, and then all of a sudden you get more adverts for Cineworld, and I'm like, hang on a minute,
I'm in
I'm like, you
Cineworld.
dim the light, what a tease!
It's like you don't need to advertise to me. I'm here. I'm in here. Yeah. It's like if I saw a Cineworld advert at an Odeon, maybe that'd be cool. Don't come watch it at Cineworld. We've got better screens.
Oh my god, that'd be brilliant if Odeon started advertising in Cineworld.
And one more, and I've said people that use phones in cinema, but I don't mean that they're talking on the phone. What I mean is that they haven't dimmed their phone or not put it on night mode, and you start seeing these like rays of light coming out from around the audience because they want to check if they've got a WhatsApp or something.
Yeah, that's the thing as well, because I don't know if that plays into the fact that now, like, we've got such short attention spans that we can't bear to be without our phones for an hour and a half. But like, you've paid £8. Well, nowadays
No,
you're
it's
paying
God,
15
no.
quid for
Yeah,
your
yeah,
ticket, aren't
yeah.
you? But do you know what I mean? You've paid for your ticket, right? You've come to watch a film. Just enjoy the film. Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, I don't want to be looking at WhatsApp. I have got one related to films as well, though.
Okay.
And that's when, do you know if you're watching a film and someone goes, oh my God, is this about to happen?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm watching the film with you.
Or they say, I know what's going to happen. This is going to happen. And it does. And it's like, yeah, I know you didn't spoil it because you haven't seen it, but you spoiled it.
Yeah, you have. Yeah. You fucked up the whole experience for me now. But yeah, it's like, no, hang on a minute. We're on the same level. I've not watched any more than you have.
Yeah.
We're at the same point. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen next.
Yeah. Or it's the ones where, it's like they haven't watched it, but then want to ask you 100 questions about it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's, oh my god, does this happen? Does this happen? Or if, like, you're excited about a film and
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
inadvertently goes and gives you the whole breakdown.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? The whole thing with spoilers, we're getting on spoilers now, is if it's a film I really want to see, like I was amazed that so I went to see Spider-Man recently, and I'm amazed that I hadn't had it spoiled for me. I think it being Christmas helped that, it's less people around, etc. And being work from home and COVID not going out. Maybe well, how I avoided it on Twitter actually, to be fair, is amazing. It's like when you go and people just wanna talk about it really loudly, when it's, like, only been out for a few days, and like I said, and they have to tell you all about it, and it's like, "Well, I've told you now, so I might as well keep telling you what happens."
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Yeah, I didn't need to watch that now, seeing if you've given me the fucking IMDb breakdown of it. Thanks.
Yeah, I
Appreciate
I
that.
guess it's probably more so when it's a film that is a few years old, like, oh god, there's so many films that I haven't seen, right? And it's like, "Oh, well, it's old, so we'll tell you everything that happens in it." It's like I said, "Yeah, okay, Netflix, you've got one less view on that film. Cheers."
One that's a little bit more, again, public, and it really is only going to happen if you're kind of in a more busy setting. But have you ever been really conscious that somebody's like looking at your phone while you're using it? So you've been sat on like a train next to someone, and like somebody's looking like at what you do. It's like, oh my god, who are they texting? What are they doing? What game are they playing? I'm just like, do you want to text my mum? Do you want? I'll give her a call if you like. I'm like, fucking mind your own business.
That's what then when you need to tailor the websites you're going to. You should that's then what you should do. And then they'll get home and need to sit down and say to their other half, "Oh God, you never guess what the bloke next to me on the train was looking at on his phone.
Yeah, all of a sudden.
Do you want a cup of tea?" Yeah.
But yeah, that one because I think that plays into people's like nosiness just generally.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, this is going to be a bit of a stereotype, but I find it's always slightly older people than me that do that.
Yeah, I can't say I've noticed it. Maybe I'm just so sort of head down in the phone or often I'm kind of sort of looking out the window just because I'm like worried of running my battery down before I get to where I go.
I've got another one again, a little bit. Sorry, I've completely
Hold
forgotten
on,
what I
while
was
we're
about
on
to say.
trains then, have you got because I've got one about train
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, go for your one with trains.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be train, but it's on the train where it annoys me is where people through their phones are either playing films or music without headphones.
Oh
But
yeah.
loudly, but not, not even at a decent-ish level. I mean, it's a public train, right? Go nuts. Well, not quite. But it's like the ones who put their music on like really loud or the film. And it's like, geez, you've had a long day, or you don't need to hear the rubbish that they're listening to.
And the worst ones as well is like the people that have those like crap little Bluetooth portable speakers and play it through that. Like
Yeah.
it's usually like kids on bikes, isn't it, in hoodies, and they'll get on a train, they'll be playing some like shit music, and they'll turn around and be playing it loud, be like, "Yeah, we're bad in it." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "No, no."
The last time I went to London, the only reason it annoyed me was because they were playing highlights of a football match of where our team rivals had won, and that was just annoying me because I could hear all the cheering about them scoring goals.
Well, you know what? I'll give one exception to the looking at my phone thing because obviously recently we saw the conclusion of the F1 World Championship, didn't we?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I actually had to catch that on a train. And I stood up on the train journey, and there was a bloke behind me who evidently was interested in F1, who wanted to know what was happening. So I just stood in a way because he was with his partner. I don't
Yeah.
know if he just wasn't brave enough to ask me if he could watch it with me. So I just positioned myself through the glass and held my phone in a way. I was like, "Don't worry, I've got you. You can watch it with me. It's all right."
Brilliant, brilliant.
I was like, "Would you like a headphone?"
Brilliant.
But yeah, I think that you'll probably have a section about planes because you've been on
Do you know
holiday.
what? No, I haven't actually. No, I haven't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, see, I thought you would have had a lot of experience with pet peeves either at airports or on planes.
Oh no, do you know what? No, I haven't because we were talking about doing an episode on travel, but I hadn't actually thought about that. But why have you got some?
I have got some, and this one's going to seem a little bit insensitive, but it's crying
Oh,
children.
oh, okay, okay. I wondered what you were going to say.
But
Yeah,
but not just any crying children. Like, do you know if you're on, it could be 2 hours, it could be 4 hours, it could be 16 hours. But do you know the incessant screamers?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, they
yeah.
don't shut up, and like there's no control from parents. Like, oh, please, please, please,
Do you know
and
what?
especially.
No, sorry, carry on. Yeah.
Especially if you're on a short flight because you don't get headphones or anything because there's no televisions to watch or anything like that.
Yeah.
You just have to sit and deal with it with your £8 pack of peanuts and £19 sandwich, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
No, do you know what I was going to say? Yeah, here we go. You've riled me now. There was a flight I was on, and I can't remember where. It was a long haul one, but this couple had a baby. Right now, the kid was crying, and the thing is, I don't have an issue. The kid is crying for a reason, right? I'm not having a go at the kid for crying, but the parents of the kid just sat back in their chairs with their eye masks on, trying to ignore it, right? And this kid is screaming down the plane, and they expected. And then what had to happen was one of the air crew, she had to pick the baby up and was basically,
Really?
yeah, sort of carrying it up and down the aisle, trying to get it to sleep because the parents weren't asleep; they were awake. They just didn't want to
Have
do
anything to
anything.
do with it?
And so
Yeah.
yeah,
See,
so this lady, poor air crew. It's not like she hasn't got a job to do,
yeah, yeah.
like
They're
keep you
selling me
safe.
the £9 peanuts.
Yeah, yeah, trying to keep you safe and all, but yeah, God, no, that wound me up. So, like I said, it wasn't the kid crying, although I get it because on a plane it's quite enclosed. It was the fact that yeah, those parents didn't want to do anything.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, because to me, like I said, it seems insensitive because you're talking about crying children, and like you said, but it's true. It's always parents that either don't have a clue what they should do or can't be fucked.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the problem for me. And I might open a discussion as well now. But this one is about the reclining of airplane seats.
Oh,
Now, all airplane seats can recline to an extent. However, if I was on a plane that was taking me, I don't know, from here to Italy, it's only going to be 2 hours, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
In reality, I probably don't need to sleep, and I don't want to be inconsiderate to the person behind me because it also affects their tray thing,
yeah.
doesn't it? So I can understand recline your seat, obviously, on your 9 hour flights, your 12-hour flights, your 16-hour flights, that sort of thing, because everybody's expected to do that. But I don't when we're on an hour flight to France. As soon as
The
as soon
seatbelt
as you
light.
plug your seatbelt goes on,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I can smell what they had for breakfast.
That is the thing for me. That yeah, those people literally, bing, the seatbelt signs off, seats back. Yeah. You're looking at their forehead.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. I think for short flights, unacceptable. I think you have to have a degree of understanding in that one.
See, again, that's a difficult one, right? Because the seats recline, you've paid your money, you can recline your seat. I get it, right? I don't recline my seat because, hold on, I should prefix this by saying I don't fly business class or first class, I fly economy. The seats don't go back enough for me to get any more comfort from it
Yeah,
being reclined. So I keep the seat pretty much upright. The only time I might recline it is sometimes when the front seat has gone back. If you're trying to read a magazine or you're trying to have something on the tray, you've then got to push it back just to give yourself that little bit of extra room yourself.
yeah,
But yeah, I kind of agree with you. For me, the seats don't go back far enough to be of any use to recline. But yeah, God, people love it. They love to recline that seat straight away. It's like
yeah,
to compare it, it's like when you see the older Wild West duels. They got their fingers over the trigger. It's like over that button. As soon as that seatbelt light, it's the quickest one to push their seat back wins.
yeah. Now, the next one as well is still to do with planes, and this is only if you sat next to randomers, because obviously most planes have 3 seats, and then if you're on the big ones, they've usually got like 5 or something, and then you
Yeah,
don't then
yeah,
3 and 3. And this is people that take 2 armrests
yeah, yeah.
because it's like, no, 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 hang on a minute, you only own one of them. You only own one of them.
Yeah. Well, I actually saw what they're saying is if you're sitting in the middle of a three, it's your right to have both armrests because basically the person on the aisle is on the aisle and they get the luxury of having the aisle so they can
Yeah,
stick their leg out. The person by the window has got the window seat, right, which is what everyone wants. So what I saw, it was again, I think it was on TikTok. It was an air hostess. She was saying basically, kind of like the unwritten rule is the person in the middle of a three should have both armrests because they've got the worst seat.
that is true. That is true.
And I often feel because it's often my girlfriend, she is often that person in the middle because I want an aisle seat. And I often feel bad. One, because she doesn't get to have a window seat because she's then in the middle. But two, yeah, she's stuck in that middle seat, which is really awkward because I just want to have the aisle to be able to either get up or sort of stretch the leg out a little bit. Although it's at danger of being taken off by the cart when they come down with the food and drink.
Yeah, all of a sudden you've lost your kneecap because the stewardess hasn't seen you.
Yeah, but it is. I've seen, and you see it all the time. It's like the elbow battles on an armrest on a plane. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
There's videos of it. I think there was one that went really viral of a guy who turned around and said that the bloke on the window seat was sleeping, and he had his arm rested on the one on the window and the one on the left hand side of him. And so the guy filmed himself like shunting the guy's elbow off and then pretending to be asleep.
Yeah.
And the guy looks at him. He's like, "Was he asleep? Is he asleep? I don't know. Can I retaliate for that?"
Yeah. Luckily, it doesn't happen to me because I'm normally on the end of a seat. But yeah, it's fun and games.
There's going to be responses to this episode being like, "You should just fly business class then. You
Yeah.
don't need to complain about the seats."
Yeah, that thing, the thing that annoys me, but it's not. Well, there's two things, but one you can't really help. It just seems to be me. It's like luggage. Generally, my case is always the last one that comes out of the carousel,
Yeah.
guaranteed. There's no point in me even rushing to it because it's going to be the last one. But the other thing is when people always need to be there right at the front of that carousel, even if their case isn't coming, and like you can see yours and you're trying to make space to grab it, and you end up taking like 2 or 3 kneecaps out because they won't move out your way and you want to take your case off. They're just waiting for theirs. That's mine. I've pointed to you. I've said that's my case. You've not moved. You're fair game. Your kneecap's fair game then if you get caught.
But that's true, isn't it? Like there is like
Of course. Sorry, I'm not saying that to like anyone who's over 60 or 70 or you know, there's people that won't get out of the way.
But do you know what the funniest thing is as well? Is right, there'll be the same people on the same transfer for you, and all they've done is waited outside in the cold for an extra half hour.
Yeah. Oh dear.
I think that's the total for my airline one. I think another pet peeve, if you were going to talk about airlines, is the fact that they charge you like 30 quid for an extra kilo if you go a slight tiny bit over, or having to fit your bags in the tiny little things. And then you've always got people that know the rules and they get to the airport and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know it wouldn't fit in the thing. Oh, I had no idea.
I mean, I
What do I
can't
do?"
take these 2-litre bottles of water on there or Coke on there.
Or people that turn up to airports, go through airport security, and they've got aerosol cans, bottles, they've got all sorts of stuff that you shouldn't have. It's just like, come on, like surely.
That's the thing now. Air travel has been so standardized in terms of what you have to do. There should be no delays.
No, none at all. My next are kind of, I guess, more so in a professional setting.
My remainder are kind of all over the place, so I'm happy for you to kind of go through yours and then
Yeah,
me-
we'll freeball the next ones.
Yeah.
So mine is about grammar, and spelling and that sort of thing.
Oh, you've got to be careful now.
I know, but this one is about there and there.
Oh, okay.
So do you know, in like, for instance, it'll be a work email. Obviously, you know, it's a professional setting. You might be talking to somebody about something, you know, relatively serious, and they don't use the correct there, or your. And I'm like, this is something that's really, really basic. We should be getting this right.
It's because it really stands out. That's the thing. There was something I'm going to say, and okay, I'll say it now. So the one I've got written down, and it's not because it's even a peeve when people say it, but you know when people say Pacific instead of specific, right? It's not that I find that annoying, but what it does is it breaks me from what I'm doing or thinking because I think about that, and then that's all I can think about. That person has said Pacific, and it's like you said, if you're reading something and they've got the wrong use of a word, I just focus on that. Yeah, and it's like all I can think about for like the next 60 seconds or so, and it just breaks my concentration.
I know, because the inner arse in me kind of wants to correct it, but then the person knows, I'm like, is it more unprofessional if I correct that error because it's something minor, but still something so basic it should be getting correct?
You know, no, I'm gonna go through all your tweets now.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm people at my work that listen to this are gonna be like, "Oh, hang on a minute, I think you're talking shit." All right, I'll let you free roam with some of the ones that you've got left.
Yeah, no, this is going to be really random now. I tell you what, I'm going to use this one first. So it's when I wrap up a cable, like, you know, headphones like I'm using, like the Apple headphones or just the in-ear headphones that are wired, or anything with a cable. I wrap them up neatly, put them in a drawer. When I take them out, there's about 100 knots intricately tied into them. And it's like, I know I didn't put you in like that. And all I've done is put you in a drawer and taken you out. And yet you've knotted yourself. And I don't know how.
I think that's a bit of a Toy Story situation, because I think there's definitely something in everybody's house that intentionally knots that sort of thing. Like when you've put headphones in a pocket or something and you've wrapped them in the circle and then you've wrapped the headphone inside of itself, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, nice. When I get out, then you pull it out of your pocket and then it's like unraveling the mysteries of the universe.
Yeah, it's like these headphones. I only use this for this reason here, so I'm only using it once a week. But every week, I mean, look, I don't know if you can see that. There's a knot in there right now, and I don't know how that's happening. But yeah, that unexplained shit like that. All right, websites that aren't formatted or work properly, and by that I mean, so you're on a list of something. You click on a list, and then you push the back button, or you do go back, and it takes you to the top of that page rather than putting
Oh
you where you
yeah.
were. You know. I want to go, if I'm going back, I want to go exactly to where I was. I don't want to go back to the top of the previous page. I don't want to go to the bottom of the previous page. I want to go back to where I was. Don't make me have to do loads more clicks.
Do you know where I first noticed this, right? Was when I was at university and doing like essays. Do you know you have to look through loads of journals and they're all like 500, 600 pages, or you read through, long articles and that sort of thing. And you've clicked through to like a link in footnotes, that sort of thing. And it's redirected you rather than opening a tab. And then you've gone back and it's taken you to the beginning of the journey. You're like, well, hang on a
Yeah.
minute. Was I between page 567 or was I between...
And there are some, I think it's more on my phone than say on a laptop, but there are some sites that won't let you go back to say the Google results. You click on a site and I'm pushing back and it won't go, push it back. And I have to then like hold the button down to look at the history and then go back to the search. It's like, what? It's like, let me go. Or there are some sites that don't load properly. So you see the link, you go to push it, and then the page shunts down a bit because it hasn't loaded like an advert or a banner or something. So you then clicked on the advert instead of the link you wanted.
Yeah, and then you're redirected to a competition to win a car or something. You're like, no!
Yeah, yeah. And again, like I said, we'll caveat these by saying these are all minor things. So people are probably saying, why are you getting annoyed at that? These are minor things that make you irrationally annoyed, right? This one here, it used to happen to me all the time at banks, but now bank is pretty much, I do that all online. You can now swap it for like going into a coffee shop. And it's like when I'm in a queue and all I want is one thing, like when I was at bank, I just wanted to pay a check-in. At a coffee shop, I just want my latte and go. But it's the person in front of you who's ordering about 20 people's food and drink for the day, but then they don't know what they want. And they're like, oh, hold on, let me have a look at the menu. It's like, I just want my latte. I just want my latte. Please, can I have my latte and go?
Like, all I want is an espresso. It'll just take me a minute.
Yeah, and they might have like, say kids, and they're asking the kids what they want. It's like, no, you tell the kid what they want. You don't give them the choice. And sometimes I've walked out because I don't really want to be in there 20 minutes just to get a drink. And it, like I said, it was the same at the bank where it was like business doing their whole week's taking or something, and I just needed a question or one action carried out.
You know what? You've reminded me of something there, and I'm going to give credit to a particular type of person.
Okay.
Do you know you're at like a busy supermarket, for instance, and you've gone to a till, and somebody in front of you has got a massive trolley of shopping, but you've only popped out for a couple of bits.
Yeah.
The real OGs of this life are the
Yeah.
people that say, "Nah, I tell you what, you go in front of me because you've only got a couple of bits."
Yeah, you've only got that. Do you want to go? And that's then when you shout, "Mum, do you want to come with the trolley now?"
But
Yeah.
I've got to give credit to those people because they outweigh the pet peeves that you might face in supermarkets.
Also, the thing that you shouldn't do when people give you a parking ticket, not a parking ticket, but the pay and display ticket, they've got some time left, so they say, do you need it?
Oh yeah, legends.
Heroes. Even though that shouldn't happen, it never has happened, but they're legends. Yeah.
You did mention banks as well. And again, I don't know how relatable this will be to people in other countries that aren't UK based, but obviously we've seen banks here transform more so from like people to computers.
Yeah.
So nowadays you'll walk into a bank and in reality there's maybe one cashier at a desk, and then it's all machines. But if you're like busy, like I like speaking to people about at the bank. It's just easier for me because I if I have a question, the machine isn't going to answer it for me. But it's the constant persistence of there's always a person that floats in the bank that says, "Oh, sir, would you like to use the machine?"
Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
don't. I've queued here. I haven't queued at the machine. I've queued here to talk to a person. I'm perfectly fine, thank you. They'll be like, "Are you sure?" Because I can tick. No, please. I just want to talk to another person. I've got some questions.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, we'll leave you alone. They go up and down the queue, asking everyone, and everyone goes, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. So you would have been better off parking yourself behind the desk and just shutting the machines off because nobody wants to use them.
Then you wouldn't have a queue to talk to.
Exactly.
it's like the shops. It's like normally like clothing, etc. And especially, if there aren't any other customers in, and you could just see their eyes on you, and it's like, do you need any help? No, I've literally look. I've just put my right foot in front of in the doorway. Can you let me get in and have a look around the shop first before you ask if I need any help? I know what I'm here for.
Oh, you get that especially if you go and look for a car.
Oh yeah.
You go into a car garage and you just walk. You've literally just put your hand on the doorknob, and all of a sudden say, "How can I show you all of the models? I've got this. I've got this. What you're looking? I'm literally just coming for a look. That's
I
all
just
I'm
want to see
doing.
how much space is in that Fiesta because
Yeah,
I know I
I
want a
get-
Fiesta. I just want to see, do I fit in it?
yeah. I just want to see what the boot's like.
Yeah. What else have I got? This one I think is very specific to me, and part of me, I've had the argument. I do argue with myself. I've had the argument that part of me thinks, well, they're just doing what is available to them, but the other part of me really annoys it. Now, we've mentioned before, I've really got back into my vinyl over the last couple of years, records, not pops, vinyl pops. And there are a couple of things like there's each year there's a record store day where you get limited records that are released only in independent shops. And there's a couple of websites I go that release limited versions of vinyl. And what it is the people who buy it just to stick it straight on eBay.
Yeah,
You know.
resellers.
Now, like I said, it's a free economy, right? Some of them aren't doing anything wrong. So the ones for a record store day where they've actually bought it and have put it on, you could argue they haven't done anything wrong. But what they are doing is denying. Like some people are queuing there for hours, and I got really annoyed last year because there was one and it had sold out only about 20 minutes because I don't like to do the whole queuing thing. So I turn up a bit later in the full knowledge that some of the stuff I want is gone because it is
Yeah,
limited numbers. But the one I wanted had gone, I think it was only 20 minutes before I got there. But then you look on eBay and say it was retailing for £30. People are putting it on for like £150.
yeah.
And the other one, the website I said to you that where they release limited versions of things, they're actually quite good because they're pre-orders. So they'll launch one like they did one last night, but it's going to be shipped in the 11th of February. What they do is they go on eBay, and if they can track any of the ones that are appearing on there, because it's a pre-order, that I think that goes against eBay's terms of sale, they will cancel that person's order. They'll go into their system and cancel that person's order, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, more businesses need to do that because you've
Yeah.
seen it a lot as well. Obviously, the release of the PlayStation and the new Xbox last year, people being limited to one. And I don't know if you know about this, but do you know Kex in the UK? Now, for anybody that doesn't know, Kex is obviously kind of like a game reseller, but they do musicy stuff, films, DVDs. You trade games in. It's kind of like, I guess, your British version of like your GameStop, maybe. And at one point, if you'd have bought a PlayStation 5, they were buying the PlayStation 5 for more than retail to then sell it for more than retail because they were so limited. And so I was like, how is a corporation turned into a reseller as well? And I noticed it as well along those lines. Obviously, I'm into my football shirts, and I tried to get a hold of Italy's shirt for the Euros. Sold out everywhere. Okay, absolutely fine. Followed a company because they said that they were getting stock of them. Now, bear in mind, these shirts retail for $79.99. They put them up on their website when they got a batch directly from manufacturer. £199 they listed them for. And I thought, you're a business doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, massive pet peeve. Because, like you said, it's kind of just denying people that actually want to enjoy something the enjoyment. And
That's what
I
it
don't
is.
like
Like I
that.
said, I have that real battle with myself, honestly do. I'm thinking, they're smart. They're queuing up, they're getting their mates to buy it, on that record store day, and they're making money from it. If people are buying it, then more for them. The thing is, if I had that, you know how much I bloody love my records, and I just want that on my shelf, and I love to listen to it. So it's a genuine fan or collector that hasn't got their hands on it. Yeah, that annoys me. And the last one I've kind of got written is when you can't get through to a person on a phone when you're calling a company, you just end up in a loop of like choices and menu options and your call is important to us. Please hold, and you're just talking to menus rather than people. Even
Yeah,
online, when you go into customer service, most companies now they guide you down filling an online email form, don't they? Contact form. You can't
yeah.
speak to people.
And that's the thing as well. Like, and do you know what it's the same for everyone. I mean, I think to be honest, the only company that hasn't done that with me is probably my insurance company for my car. They're
Yeah.
really easy to speak to
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
phone. And to be honest, that's the only reason I stay with them. I literally say to them every year I renew, I'm like, give me 40 quid off and I'll stay with you because I like you lot. basically. And they're
Yeah,
like, yeah, all
yeah,
right then. But it's true. You call up because you've got an issue with a product or whatever it might be. And it says, okay, I'm going to give you 9 options because that's how many buttons are on the fucking
yeah,
keypad.
yeah.
And then please press star if you'd like to repeat the message. And you need to go through 5 menus to speak to someone. It's impossible to do. Impossible to do. But so many people are going towards that now. I mean, even to get a doctor's appointment, that sort of thing now. Loads of the doctor's surgeries have all got automated voice lines. It's basically impossible to speak to a receptionist. All big companies, again, are all,
Yeah. Actually,
impossible to speak to.
doctors, that's another thing. So you call a minute before the phone line's open, you can't get through because the lines aren't open. You call bang on the time and you're number 25 in the queue. It's like, how dare.
Like, there's no, I was definitely the fastest this time.
I'm not even joking. Once I remember, I think when I looked at my phone, I must have called about 30 times because I was just literally calling redial, calling redial, calling redial. When I did get through, I was in the double figures. I don't know how. It's just unbelievable.
Well, once I had a problem with a product, again, not any specific mention of company or anything, so it's going to have to be general. And I had to call them. This was probably 3 or 4 months ago. So I had a problem and needed to speak to someone. Get on the phone line and turns around and says, "We're experiencing high volume of calls, that sort of thing," which is fine, COVID and that sort of thing. And then I was number 48 in the queue. And I thought, well, I'm not getting through for the next 2 hours, but I'm just going to see what happens and how long I'm on the phone for. And genuinely, I think that they said it to just tell everyone that they were number 48 in the hope of putting them off, because I didn't move from number 48 for about an hour and a half. And I thought there's no chance that people have been on the phone for that long in front of me, or that there's that few people that are answering the phones. But it was absolutely ridiculous. So I just put the phone down. I was like, no, you know what? I can't be bothered with this anymore.
A lot of customer service just seems to be, yeah, we'll stick you on hold for half hour, and it
Yeah.
just feels like it's a holding pattern rather than it genuinely being busy.
Yeah, because we don't have a problem if you can't tell us it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's also, and actually, if we're talking about this, it's predominantly, again, let's say with customer services, and it's not an easy role. First job I worked in a bank doing mortgages, right? And 2 weeks of the month you had to be on the phones.
Yeah.
And it is a thankless task, because you do get people shouting at you because they've got a problem with the company and they're taking it out on you, right? So I get it. The only time I've ever got annoyed or angry at people on the phone is when they're not actually listening to you.
Yeah.
Where they've just got that script in front of them and it doesn't matter what you've said, they're just reading a script. And it's like you're not actually hearing a word I'm saying, are you?
Yeah. They're just sitting there looking for the yes, no answer that you might give them.
Yeah,
And then going, no, 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 I don't think you've understood. I'm going to ask you the same question again as I've done for the 6th time. Please, could
yeah.
you give me? And I'm saying it's not that simple.
I've actually said, look, put the script down, please, and just listen to me because you're not actually understanding the problem.
Although on the vein of angry people, have you got any more?
No, I'm just enjoying. This is
Having
quite
a moan, getting it
cathartic.
off your
This is
chest.
yeah, this is good. This is quite good.
One that's with me, and it's to do with complaints and that sort of thing, especially if you see it in like a business or a public place, that sort of thing. And it's people getting like overly aggressive with like the lowest rung on the ladder in a business.
Yeah,
So if somebody's got a complaint, they're just like screaming at the person behind like a till. And it's just like, well, I mean, it's not really their
yeah,
their fault
yeah.
that this has happened to you. Like, there's a different way that you could probably put your point across. And it's like some poor like 18-year-old or 16-year-old or something working as a Saturday job, just getting screamed at by like a random member of the public. And it just must be like, you know,
I remember once, the telecommunication company that you're with and you've had problems with a couple of weeks ago.
ah,
Um,
yes,
our
yes.
favourite one. I was having an issue with them, but the issue was that they were basically trying to charge me like 350 quid for something that I shouldn't have been charged 350 quid for. So I remember, and it was multiple phone calls. I remember getting to one person. I said, "Look, whatever their name was, I'm shouting. I'm not shouting at you. This isn't anything to do with you, but I'm really angry and I need to shout." So I said, don't take this personally, but I'm really, really pissed off now because I know it's not their, that like I said, they're not getting paid enough to take the abuse.
Yeah, that's the thing. And oh my God, you know what? This is where I've seen it recently. So at the minute, and again, in UK pharmacies and that sort of thing, they've been under a lot of pressure recently because so many people have needed, drugs. And obviously, with the fact that so many people are in isolation, pharmacies were really understaffed at one point because so many people were just off work. That's all to do with obviously like COVID regulation and that. But it's like I was in a pharmacy picking up a prescription, um, and there was a guy next to me who's turned around and said, "No, but I need these because I'm going to run out." And he's just like, "But you do understand that obviously we give you months worth, and you need to make sure that you order them in advance because obviously we're not going to have the time." And this guy just had a slanging match with the pharmacist behind the counter about how he needed it now. He said, "But it's impossible because we don't have this because
Yeah.
you've brought it in today when you need it. You need
Right,
to
right, yeah,
understand that you
yeah.
have to have," and that's the thing. Do you know when you've got a situation where people just haven't understood that maybe part of the problem is you?
Do you not find though, and it goes back to driving, that sometimes the angriest people are the ones who know that they're in the wrong?
Yeah, yeah. And
I
the
think
anger is a
it's yeah,
cover.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But
yeah.
so slight side story. But while we were talking about the phone, I did want to talk about a personal story. But it's like I said, it's not necessarily a pet peeve. It was just something funny that's cropped up in my memory. And if we don't say it now, I might not remember in another one. But when I worked at the bank doing mortgages, like I said, I was on the phone, and I remember my manager come up to me and said, "Look, Dan, we've had a complaint. Somebody said that we were offering a mortgage rate in the paper, but when they're calling us up, they said that we're not, or when they've applied for it, they can't see it, and they think we're basically scamming, putting in the press lower mortgage rates, and then when they come through, it's higher." So I said, okay. I said, give me all the information. So I spent about an hour researching the rates we had historically, because this person was saying they were saying it was 2%, we were saying 4%. I looked at the last sort of 2 years of rates we were doing to see, is it an old thing in the paper? I was looking at phone calls, I was looking at this. I couldn't find anything. So I called up the person and I said, look, and this person straight away got really angry. And I said, look, I'm really sorry, but what are you saying? He goes, but it says here, Barclays Bank, 1.9%. I said, but sir, we're not Barclays Bank, right? And I kid you not, he went, there was silence, went, oh, and hung up. And that was it. But the thing was, I was so stressed. I spent about an hour preparing myself, and he was calling the wrong bank.
See, that's again an instance of misplaced anger, but where you're super wrong with who you're angry at. it's like walking into Burger King and complaining about your McDonald's.
Oh, it was superb. It was superb, and that's actually it was funny. It ended funny, but
That's the thing. I think obviously it is important to stress that anything that we've talked about is obviously, like I said, minor inconveniences, but in the wrong circumstances. If you just had a bad day,
yeah,
are those
yeah.
things that would really wind you up if you had a bad day,
But
basically.
often it's the minor things, because often big things I think you let slide. Like I don't know, if someone's massively cut you up, or I choose not to get angry, because if you're going to get angry, sometimes a lot of the bad driving, you'll be angry 99%. Sometimes it just takes that little thing, and I
Yeah,
think because I think maybe we're programmed to let the big things go, or maybe it's the little things like go right back to the start where you said you've let someone through in a car and they've not thanked you. And you could actually, I forgot, you could apply that to a door. You hold the door open for
yeah,
someone, they just
yeah,
walk through and don't even acknowledge it. And it's such a minor thing. You've held the door open. That was your choice to hold the door open, I suppose. You want me to walk through it? I'll walk through it. But it's that understood, what's the word, convention, that you should say thank you if someone's done something for you. And when they
yeah,
don't,
yeah.
that is the biggest thing in the world. It doesn't matter who else is conning you, scamming you, whatever. That person didn't acknowledge me when I held the door open for them.
But that's the thing as well. I think it's, yeah, like you said, just a common appreciation for the fact that you just have to have a little bit of manners about you. So I mean, with the thanking you thing, even if you're paying someone for something, so like waiters in a restaurant, you're going to tip them at the end, all sorts. I constantly say thank you because you've
Yeah,
brought me my meal, thank you,
yeah, yeah.
because you've brought me a new drink, thank you. I know I asked for it, I know you're getting paid for it, but it's just about having just a bit of common decency, and not in that instance, because that one little instance, for example, of you being rude to a waiter basically fucks up his entire day. And that's really kind of what it is. Like the little things that build up and the little things that are just a little bit of a trigger are actually the ones that I think ruin your mood the most. And I think that's really what these things are.
But I just think, if someone holds the door open for me, I'll say thank you, because it's a nice thing. Someone's done a nice thing, and it puts you in a good mood. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
those little, I guess it's not really a random act of kindness. I guess it's common decency holding the door open rather than letting it slam in someone's face. But it's the difference between someone letting the door slam in my face when they could have held it open for 2 seconds, to holding the door open and a little smile to say thank you.
Yeah.
It can just change the tone of your day ever so slightly, can't it?
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's really where we were coming from when we kind of had the idea for this pod as well. So I think unless you've got any more.
No, no, no. I'm done. Thank you. You've got my bile levels raised.
Yeah, I'm going to take my blood pressure after this one as well. I don't know if I was more irritated by this one or by the metaverse one. No, the metaverse one was still worse.
So I just want to say again, check out Decaying with the Boys. Give them a listen.
Yeah, pop them a listen. Conversely, as well, if you've enjoyed this episode, let us know what your favourite pet peeves are. Give us
Yeah.
an idea of what grinds your gears, what winds you up, even if it's the smallest things or the biggest of things. Doesn't
Relieve
bother
your
us.
tension and anger out.
Exactly.
Let us
Feel like
know.
us.
Let us know.
Relieve some stress.
We'd love to hear, yeah, the other side of the ocean, what some of the pet peeves are, or what grinds your gears up over there. Let us know. Let us know.
Yeah. Cultural pet peeves as well would be a
Yeah.
cool one. If you've got anything that you can't think of that maybe only applies where you are. But yeah, so you can pop us an email at castingviewspod@gmail.com, or again, hit us up on Twitter @castingviews. Let us know what your favourite pet peeves are or your most irritating pet peeves are. And I will finish, as always, by saying we know there are many podcasts from which you can choose, so we thank you for listening to Casting Views.